You think she's a good girl, but once you get to know her, you realize she's everything. She's crazy, she's funny, she's honest, and you'll never know what she'll do next.
Hello, I'm not going to raise my voice because I learned that when I do that, the system can't handle all the octaves that I can go up to. But this is the podcast number 61. And today we decided it'd be fun if James Henderson, my producer, interviews me, because maybe there's some questions that you may have for me out there.
So it took you this long to figure out that when your voice rises, that it disrupts things.
Well, I started watching it, and I'm like, we're losing a lot of text there because it's making my voice gets too high and too loud.
This is going to be awesome. We're going to do something totally different, something really, really cool. We're going to have Tracy, Being Tracy, getting interviewed on her own show. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I'm ready.
You should. Well, let's hope you have all the answers, right? Because they're all about you. So we'll see how that goes. So what's it like being on the other end of the question and answer?
It's actually great. I love it. I was excited for today. So thank you for offering to do this. This is an amazing opportunity for me.
One never knows. We can have a good time. So let's just jump right in.
You have such an inviting smile. It's hard not look at you. But I know that when the clips are made, if I'm not looking at the camera, we're going to look silly.
But that's okay. I look silly all the time. Let's do this.
Yes.
Let's jump right in. Okay. Who's Tracy? Where are you from? How did you get here? But when I say that, I don't mean like the whole progression. Like, where are you from? What's your background? And why are you passionate about the things you're passionate about?
Okay, my name is Tracy Busch Pate. I am from a little town in Indiana. There are a lot of little towns there in Indiana called Leo, Indiana. And it's right next door to Graybill, where we have Amish people too. So it's a whole nother world than Florida here. And I was raised by a very domineering father and my parents had 6 children together, 3 boys and 3 girls, and I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
Yes.
Were you domineering toward your younger?
And this was siblings? The rule in my house. The rule was age rules. So I was the oldest. So I got to rule, which means I got to bump people out of a seat if they were sitting in a seat that I wanted, which I know sounds horrible, but this is the way I was brought up, and it kind of helps to understand the way that I am now. But I have 5 younger brothers and sisters now who are all kind of feel like they're taking care of me, but they're wonderful. And we have a wonderful, close family. Unfortunately, we lost both my parents recently. But
well, as the baby of the family, I resent you. That's okay.
No, that would be my youngest brother, JR. And the thing is about JR, he knows how to do everything, though. He knows how to do everything because everyone told him to do everything. So then he became really ingenuitive, and he now can do whatever he wants. He's very, very smart.
Well, tell him a little bit about your family, because you've got some really innovative, really successful, really positive people in your family. So tell us a little bit about that and how you gained some of that.
Well, so I have 2 brothers. My brother, Dr. Richard Busch, is the chiropractor in Indiana, famous chiropractor. He has a humongous chiropractic office up there where he sees about 200 to 300 patients a day. And that's really phenomenal in the chiropractic world. And like I said, he's on the news, he's on magazines, he has classes to teach decompression. Then there's my sister Tundi, who is in New York, and she's a fireball there, where she's always been in banking. And she and her husband have been managing directors for very many major banks. And now she works for a couple of billionaires. And then there's my sister Jacqueline, who is leading the family business in Panama with my brother, Dr. Joe Busch, who's also a chiropractor there. And my other brother, JR, that I just mentioned, the youngest, are all 3 putting the American Chiropractor magazine together. And they live in Panama, and I work with them with that too. And so the last 4 of us have been instrumental in the American Chiropractor magazine, getting a chiropractic message out to now 40,000 chiropractors each month, 13 issues a year.
Wow, that's awesome. I really love that your family is still working together. You're still doing things together, still working on the same purpose.
Yeah.
You're involved with them as well.
Awesome. It's really awesome. My sister has said if we weren't all at the magazine, we would have lost track of each other. But So that's the reason for us all to keep working together. You know how it is when you're working with family. You know, sometimes things will come up. You know, and it's not always the easiest thing. But anyway, it's been a pleasure.
That's really awesome. So from small town Indiana, all the way to South Florida, how do we make that happen?
So, well, I came straight down to South Florida because I'm a family girl, and my aunt and uncle, the Bratmuller family, moved down here when I was in college. They moved down here, and all I was hearing about was how great Naples was, because it was the time when Naples was in Forbes magazine as being the fastest growing community. And my uncle Paul Bratmuller was ingenuitive. Excuse me. And he brought his family down here. They started a great life here. And so because when I graduated from college, I decided that I didn't want to stay in Leo, Indiana for the rest of my life. And really what I wanted to do was I wanted to become an entertainer. I wanted to go to California and become an entertainer. And but what I decided to do first was come straight down to Florida and started doing something here, deciding what I was going to do here. And I got a job my degree was in education, elementary education. I got a job in teaching elementary education and also waitressing at night. That's what I did when I moved here.
So
I don't know. That was maybe a longer answer than you wanted.
But that's okay. But that's it.
Between the coughs.
Yeah, but you know what? You know, well, the cool thing about that is, you know, we always, when we talk about how did you get here from there, you know, we know that when you go from one thing to the next, it's not always easy. You know, we'd like to envision that it would be easy. So what are some of the challenges that you've had to kind of overcome to get right here where you're sitting right now with the Being Tracy Show, where you're sharing all those things with other people?
Well, I went through a divorce, which is a huge challenge. And, you know, I mean, I would have to say everything up until that point, aside from a car accident that I got into when I was 20, which I almost lost my life, and I almost lost the right side of my body, the use of the right side of my body. And in fact, in the hospital after I finally woke up from a 5-day coma, the doctors told my parents, you know, we don't think she's ever going to walk again. So my dad took me home and threw me in the swimming pool. And that was the biggest adversity that I came across in my life until that point. And so as you can see, he brought me back to life, and I'm fully functioning now. Thank goodness for my father. And then after that, the next major adversity I had, because my life was pretty smooth sailing growing up, because I was raised in a very great family, which did instill the ethics in me of hard working. That it was never easy, I wouldn't say. The way that I was raised wasn't with a silver spoon, I wouldn't say. It was the kind of growing up where I did get to live in a nice home and had a nice surrounding and a great family to grow up with. But I learned real quick how to keep things clean around a big home like I lived in. Like my mom told the story about how I'd be washing the windows and just had a smile on my face, like I was just having so much fun. And then my dad used to have something that I was telling my kids about the other day that's called speck control. Do you know what speck control is? Speck control is when they don't use a vacuum to pick up the specks on the floor. They expect you to get down on your hands and knees and pick up all the specks on the floor. Those were just two examples of the kinds of growing up that me and my brothers and sisters did. And that brought us up to be really upstanding individuals, because we learned what it's like to be hard workers and what you can get from hard work and effort.
Right. And one of the things that I've noticed, like I've had the blessing of being able to sit in on a lot of your conversations that you've had with a lot of people. And there are a lot of people who go through adversity and go through difficulty that they don't like to share. They don't like to share what happened to them. They want you to see the end product, which is great. But when did you get to the point where you thought it was important for you to gain what you wanted to gain in life, to share your difficulties, your challenges with other people so that they could gain what they're looking to gain in their life?
Okay, so it was when I was in Facebook. when I first moved back from Panama. I lived in Panama for 10 years. My ex-husband and I took the kids to Panama because we wanted them to become bilingual, and that's where my parents were, and my youngest two brothers and a sister lived. And that's where the American Chiropractor magazine moved as well, out of Indiana, when my parents did. And so when I came back from Panama, I was still working for the magazine. I was working out of my house, and I chose South Beach. And things would happen. I got a divorce in Panama. So when I moved to South Beach, I started dating, social interactions. And then I started blogging, because it started being a way for me to get past the pain that I was going through from these personal relationships that I was going through. And I thought it wasn't just that I wanted to share it. It was that I wanted to, that was the way it was therapeutic for me, was to write down my pain that I was going through. And the thing was, I would share it on my personal page on Facebook, and my family was going crazy. They were up in arms, like, Tracy, what are you doing telling all these personal stories? Like, what are you talking about? And that's when I finally put it up on Facebook. I said, hey, my family's kind of having a hard time with me sharing this stuff. Like, what do you think? Like, what should I do? I want to get this message out, but where should I share it? And then one of my advertisers from the American Chiropractor magazine came up and said, hey, well, you can have a blog page. I can create it for you. And then you can share all your stories on the blog page. And then he said, we're going to have a social page for you, because all the people that are going to fall off the blog page are going to want to find you. And so we'll make that social page on Facebook called Being Tracy, which is how that was born.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. I want to go back to something that you said.
And I would tell my family, don't follow me on the Being Tracy page. You're not going to want to see what I'm sharing there.
Yeah, let me go back to something that you said, and you kind of washed past it, but I want to dive into this a little bit. We talk a lot about relationships on this show, right? But you mentioned social interactions. Yeah. So usually when we say relationships, we think about man, woman. That's just what pops into our heads. Mm-hmm. But obviously, a lot of the things that you talk about with your people are social interactions among women and men.
Right. It doesn't just have to be dating, although dating was shocking to me. Dating was shocking after being married. I got married very young. I was married for 17 years, and then being thrown into the dating pool all of a sudden. That was a shocker, especially when I started it first in Panama and then in Miami. That was a shocker. But more than that was just the social interactions that I would have as well, with like a masseuse that would come over to give me a massage one day, and she would judge me from what I had in the refrigerator. She would judge me from the things that I told her about whatever, so that was a little bit shocking as well. And I shared that story.
But one of the other things about that is all those social interactions are not necessarily negative, because you talk about, like, for example, the mothers group that you were a part of. Some of those social interactions actually helped you move past the difficulties you were challenged with, right?
Right. Well, that was the way I started here in Naples, Florida, when I moved here from college, and I lived here for only about a year. My ex-husband and I got married, like, after about a year of me living here, because we met, we fell in love, we decided to have kids. We got married after 9 months and then got pregnant right away. And so the first thing I did was find a mom's club. And I joined this wonderful mom's club. And there were so many, wonderful, but I didn't write my blog about the mom's club. I mean, really, at that time, I didn't start writing my blog until after I was single.
Right. Okay. So
maybe since I've written, I've had shared a little bit about that, but.
Yeah, because you're still friends. You're still involved with some of the people.
Oh yeah,
that are there. So I think those relationships, a lot of times,
which you've seen on some of my earlier shows.
Yeah, they're the ones that kind of help us get from point A to point B. So now you've worn a bunch of hats. You really have.
I have.
And as you do that, and you look at wearing all those hats, what's your deeper why? Why do you continue to want to help people? I hear you say it all the time. And why do you want to continually expose people to people that can help them?
Well, I want people to feel seen, heard, and not judged. And I have been through in my own life, as I've shared on my podcast and shared in my blogs, through personal adversity. I've been through major reinventions. And I just want people to understand, hey, That's life. We all go through those things. If you don't grow and change, as my dad told me long ago, change is growth. So if you're going to change, you're going to grow. Change can never be negative. So that's what I want. I want my guests to have an open platform where they can share their stories, because every story is interesting and every story is a good story that we can learn from, right?
Absolutely. It was a story that I was reading, and it was about someone who taught their kid to take chances and to fail.
Yeah.
And the kid said, I don't want to fail. And the dad said, as long as you always fall forward.
Yeah.
If you fail forward,
Uh-huh.
it's like what you just said.
Right.
You learn. You have the opportunity to learn.
Right.
Every time you fail. We don't always
Right.
take it, but
Right.
you have that. You certainly have that opportunity. Now, you talked about the blog. What inspired you to go from the written word to the spoken word on camera, the Being Tracy Show?
Well, the way that happened was I was in Boca Raton. And like I said, I always wanted to be in entertainment. What I thought I was going to do before my car accident was become a newscaster. I just gotten in myself in a group. I was like voted president of the group at the first meeting to become, in this newscasters group. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of allergies hitting me today. But anyway, so what happened was, as life does, things come back up when you don't finish them in your life. They come back up later. And I was in a Crazy Uncle Mike's is what it's called in Boca one day for brunch after church. And I was just sitting there talking to some people next to me. And then on Monday, the girl called me on the phone and said, hey, I've got a podcast and I want you to be our guest on Wednesday. So, of course, I said yes. And then I went and I was just being Tracy, and I was just telling them stories. And these are two married ladies that were doing the show. They're called Crazy Rich Neighbors is what their podcast was called. And so I'm telling them single stories like I had encountered, and they were laughing so hard. And they were like, after the podcast, they were like, oh my gosh, you were hilarious. You have got to have your own podcast. So then I went from that to talking to the producer, and he offered me a spot. And so that's how my podcast started. I started the next week. I'm like, well, what the heck? Let's get it going. What are we waiting for? So that's the way it happened.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you this, and let them hear it in your words. I kind of talked about it a little bit. What is it that you really want people to get when they tune in to hear you and your guests? What's the message? What are you trying to get at?
You can rewrite your story. The world needs you, and they need your story, and we can all learn from your story. And it's possible to move through pain. Healing is possible. You always need to feel worthy because you've got so much worth in you. And so what I try to do is make a platform for people to see how they can move through pain. I try to create a space where people grow, heal, and connect.
Awesome. So tell me, I know that resilient people sometimes feel like giving up. But they're just the people who, if you fall 7, you get up 8. Tell me about a time when you felt like it was just time to give up. And then tell me how you got yourself up and moved on from it.
It's emotional. It's emotional for me to even think of it. But it's when I was in Miami, and if you see the podcast, it's actually the first podcast I did on my own. It's called Why Did You Leave Miami? Because that was a painful story. People kept asking me. So they kept asking me when I'd run into them at the coffee shop and other places in Boca, why would you move from Miami? Miami's so great. Why would you move from there? And the thing was, I had been through so much pain and so much adversity. All of a sudden, I'm like, in the matter of 6 months, I'd had like 6 really, really bad things happen to me. And I go through it in that podcast. But what I did was, through the help of my family, the support and the love of the people that don't judge you and love you and believe in you, I was able to move to Boca, and I found a way to get started again. And that's, that was a really, really hard time for me. And I would say the most important thing at that point in your life is to make sure that the people around you are singing life into you, are speaking life into you, because you need other people around you to have more life, more belief in you than you might have in yourself. And that's exactly what was happening. I had gone through so many things to beat me down. Finally, I said in that podcast, okay, God, I hear you. I get the message. I'm not meant to be in Miami. I thought I was. So now where am I meant to go? And then I felt all of the things lined up for me to move to Boca and make a change that changed my life back to wonderful again.
Yeah, share with them a tool about how to find those people to be around, because so often we get into the difficulties because of the people that we are around. How do you move from that to being around those people that speak life into you?
Well, I that's a really difficult question, really. I mean, like, I just had to start with my family, and I had a very, very small circle because what had happened to me. And I would say through church, I found a lot of wonderful people. I kept going to church. I was praying on my knees next to my bed. I was at that point in my life where I just needed a miracle to happen. And then God helped to bring some wonderful people into my life to believe in me more than I believed in me, and sing life and tell life back into me, and help me get strong again and get the strength to where I believe my story again. Because you have to believe in your purpose. But until you believe in your purpose, you don't have a purpose.
Awesome. So let's go here. Most of the time, successful people or people who are resilient are like the duck. They look like they're gliding, but underneath they're paddling like heck. They're really paddling like heck. Share with them a time that you're really proud of, that people didn't know behind the scenes that you were going through something, but you were able to just stick it out, paddle like heck underneath, and keep your grace above water.
I would say it was when I moved to Boca, and I didn't really know what I was going to do there yet. I moved my real estate license with another brokerage, but I quickly found, as long as I was going into that brokerage to hang out with those people, I wasn't finding any business. So the first thing I did was I started making it my job to go to Starbucks every morning. And I would go to Starbucks sometimes before it was light up, before the sun even came up. I'd be sitting out there at 6 a.m. when it was still dark, and I was just sitting outside the door waiting to talk to people, to chat, to meet people who I could help to reach their real estate dreams. And that was the thing too that gave me life, when I was putting myself out there to help other people. That gave me life. Every time I could help to fill someone else's dreams, that boosted me up.
Awesome. What a great segue, because you're talking about brokerages.
Yeah.
So we're talking about brokerages. It might be time for a real estate minute.
Oh, well, I had a graph today. I looked at a graph which just came out August 1st. So it's June 2025 is what it says. But let me get to I wasn't prepared. Hold on a minute. You got me flustered there. I wasn't ready. Okay.
If it's your first time and you hadn't gotten there yet, Tracy is also a realtor. So
I am a realtor, and if you have a realtor, please reach out to your realtor after you hear these great stats that are going on in Florida right now. Now, this is from Sun Stats is something that we have access to as a realtor in Florida to tell you how great the market here it actually is right now. It says, my ChatGPT also looked at the graph and found some really great things I can talk about with you in 1 minute. And it says, let's take a look at the Florida housing market, June 2025. And there's a lot of encouraging news here. Closed sales are up nearly 3% compared to last year, with more than 23,800 homes sold. That's a strong indicator of buyer confidence, even in the shifting market. Now, while the median sale price has dipped slightly down about 3.5%, excuse me, to $412,000, that's actually positive news for buyers. It means more affordability and more opportunities to get into the market. On the flip side, inventory is way up, 115,000 active listings, a jump of 24%. More choices for buyers often means healthier competition and less pressure. Dollar volume held steadily at $14.4 billion, showing that overall market activity is still very strong. And now pending sales are also up, signaling continued momentum as we head into the second half of the year. Now, so the takeaway, Florida real estate remains vibrant, opportunities, and the market overall is showing balance. It's a win-win for everyone. Yay! So anyway, don't let anybody tell you the bad stuff about how the real estate market is, because I know that's just news out there. The media is going to try to get you to think otherwise, but this is the real statistics. Here in Florida, we are jamming. It's a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell. It's a balanced market here, and you can still get a good price for your home. So anyway, my name is Tracy Busch Pate. This is James Henderson, my producer, who interviewed me today. Thank you very much for a wonderful interview. And you know what? If you have a realtor, please reach out to your realtor and talk to him about these statistics and see how you fit into these things and how that helps you with your whether you want to buy, sell, invest. And if you don't have a realtor, I'm here, and I'd love to recommend one for you in your area, or else I'm here to help you reach your dreams. I'm more than happy to. Love you so much.
Tracy, thanks for having me today. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you close your own show with this. What's next for you?
Well, I am hoping I'm getting on a bigger speaking stage. Okay. I'm scheduling some speaking events coming up. I'm also writing a book. And so I am going to be reaching more and more people. That is what my focus is right now, is getting the lessons that I've learned. I want to share them through the book and to help people, to inspire people to keep going, to laugh at what's going on. It's all funny. That's my biggest lesson is don't worry, be happy, enjoy the ride. And if you don't have reason to laugh, ask ChatGPT for a joke, I'd say. Excuse my cough. Thank you, guys. We love you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.